Is Anthony Joshua mentally ready for Daniel Dubois? I've reacted to his off-the-cuff interview with Ade Oladipo on DAZN, guys, and this interview gave me a lot of insight into where I think he is at with his mental preparation for this fight. So stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be giving you all my thoughts and analysis as we go into what is probably the biggest fight of Anthony Joshua's career. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Guy Called Henry. Guys, we're not far out now from Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. I've been churning out some content around this fight. You'll have seen I did my game film analysis. Thank you to all of those of you that have watched that video and sort of commented on it, liked it. The feedback's been really great, so thank you so much for that. Guys, just a quick little announcement about my channel before we get into today's video. I've actually become an affiliate with DAZN, so that means that I now get a little link below where basically if you click it, if you go and buy the fight or subscribe to DAZN, take up the offer in the link, then I get some of the money. It helps to support my channel. It's really exciting, guys, because, you know, I'm still at a really early stage of returning to things here. And so to get recognition from a company like DAZN is great for me. Don't worry, it's not going to change any of the content. In fact, if anything, it's going to improve the content because now I have way more flexibility over what I can do with the footage that they have the rights to. So it's only going to improve the quality of my game film analysis. And it's just a really exciting opportunity for me, guys. So get in the link in the description box if you want to go and buy this fight. If you want to support me, then if you do it through my link, then that would be absolutely awesome. It's the Joshua Dubois fight. You all know it, guys, September 21st at Wembley Stadium. It's the Riyadh season card. And actually, guys, quickly, I've just got to give a big shout out to Proper Boxing. You guys should know his channel. It's huge. One of the best in the game right now. I believe he had a word in someone's ear about me and said you should check out this guy called Henry. So I just want to say, mate, thank you very much for that. You know, guys, the thing that I would like to know a bit more about going into this fight is where these guys are at mentally. We saw the face-off video. We got a little sense from that maybe Joshua was a little bit agitated. He definitely tried to sort of big brother Daniel Dubois in that interview. And so we're going to be looking today and reacting to the off-the-cuff with Anthony Joshua video that DAZN posted. I'm really intrigued to see what he says because I think it's slightly different when you're in a less combative environment to get those answers, to get that perspective on where Joshua feels he's at right now. And I'm really interested to watch this. And, you know, the things I'm going to be looking for in this video, guys, are, you know, is he taking Daniel Dubois seriously? How does he sort of perceive his own career? Where does he feel he's at in terms of his own development and ability? And, you know, there's been so much conversation about Joshua, about his apprehension potentially to commit to being in the pocket. How much does he want it? Ever since that loss, the first loss to Andy Ruiz, it's been chasing him for a while now. And then, of course, he had those two losses against Usyk that he's had to bounce back from. And so it's really important to have an understanding of where he is mentally going into this one. He seems to me like he's in a pretty decent place. I like the more combative, less polished, less commercial AJ. I like the one who's a little bit more aggressive, the fighter. I like when I see the fighter and AJ come out. So really intrigued to see this one-on-one interview he's done with Ade. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button, get your comments in below. Do you think AJ's ready for this fight? Hit the subscribe button, and let's get into it.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk about the last 12 months. Fights in the UK, O2 Arena, fights in Saudi. How would you sum up the last sort of 11, 12 months?
Progressive. Progressive. We started off on a rocky road, coming off a defeat to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Alexander Usyk. Gone on to be a credible fighter, credible heavyweight. So come off 2 defeats to him. You know how it is, isn't it? You always believe in yourself, but it's hard when people stop believing in you as well. And so you have like a lot of pressure from people saying that, yeah, you're not that same person anymore, so you got to go back and rebuild. So I went through that rebuilding process. And if you look at the consistency, I'm not saying I've beaten world champion after world champion, but in order to get to the World Championships, I've had to take steps. And each fight has led me to here. So each fight has been a good progression from going 12 rounds with Franklin, 7 with Helene.
Before we continue, though, I just want to draw on something AJ said then, because he sort of said, it's not that I ever stop believing in myself, but it's the people around you. And he kind of then says, so when the people around you don't believe in you anymore, that's when you have to go through that rebuilding process. And that's really interesting because, you know, you'd like to believe, or you'd be led to believe often by fighters that they don't listen to the noise outside, that they focus on what they believe and what they think. But Anthony's just said it there himself. It might have been a slip of the tongue, but it sounds to me like he's very much said it. You know, people on the outside weren't satisfied with my performance levels, felt that I should have fought differently, could have done better. Specifically, he was speaking about the loss to Usyk there, and that he could have done more. And, you know, ever since that Ruiz fight, there's been a clear, to me anyway, a clear look of a man who's caught between styles, caught between mindsets. And so whether it came from a place of, dissatisfaction with his own performances or other people, I think he's definitely done the right thing. And he's going in now to talk about the wins he's had to get to the place he's at now. And I actually think he's been matched much, much better than I originally thought. When I saw the Franklin fight, I thought that was a pretty horrible matchup for him, given that he has often struggled with shorter men. To see him get that win over the distance, it was a difficult fight for him, but he came through it. And then we'll continue from there. But, I think ultimately he is in a really good spot right now in terms of his style development. So we'll see what he says about that.
Lanius, which was supposed to be Dylan, down to 5 with Wallin, then to 2 with Ngannou. And who knows what will happen September 21st.
Did you ever question whether or not it is still there, that kind of, that fire to want to go back and be destructive where you're stopping people? Did you ever, at any stage in that rocky moment, say, have I still got what it takes?
I always felt I could hurt people, but the thing is, in a heavyweight fight, everyone can.
Yeah.
That's what makes the heavyweight division so exciting, is one of those divisions where you don't want to turn, you don't want to blink, because anything can happen at any time. So it wasn't so much can I do it, it was like, how good am I?
That's so interesting. It's not can I do it, it's how good am I. He's just said there. And the whole time he was talking there, what was ringing in my ears was, I was almost waiting for him to say it, was, yes, I can punch, but how do I set it up? And that's the key. How does he administer the power? How does he get into punching positions where he can punch through the target, where he feels safe and secure? And that's largely why he's developed this counter-punching style with Ben Davidson. I really believe it's the right way for him to go. He was always a good counter-puncher, AJ. You just wouldn't specifically say that he was a counter-puncher. That wasn't his predominant style. But everything he's been through, everything he's learned, the guile he now has, the understanding he has of the game, the composure, which is the biggest thing you need to be a counterpuncher. You need to be patient. You need to be able to set traps. You need to be intelligent and smart. You need to keep yourself safe while you're setting those traps and baiting opposition. And then ultimately, you need to have the confidence to ice your opponent and hurt them and take your moments. And I think he's just perfect for that style. So, yeah, really exciting stuff.
Let's say I meet someone who can take one of my main attributes, which is strength. Let's say he can take that. What else do I have to offer? So I went and explored ways to improve as an athlete, as an all-round athlete. And I always look at the Ngannou fight. The guy was a juggernaut. He was massive. And I thought to myself, if I only depended on strength, it would have been a lot tougher fight. But due to the fact I went through a process where I tried to improve my IQ, I was able to dispatch of Goliath in quick fashion.
Yeah, so, what AJ just said, there's a really good summary. When he used to get those wins before, the thing that always saw him through was his determination, his grit, his punching power, and his ability to go into that crazy Super Saiyan mode where even if the guy in front of him was a technically better boxer, like Vladimir Klitschko, he could just go crazy and he could get you out of there because, he had this turbo mode he'd go into, and it would completely gas him for sort of 2, 3, even 4 rounds sometimes. That's how long he would need to recover after doing that. But it allowed him to put a dent in these opponents. And, he's saying, what happens when someone can take that? What happens when someone is in front of me is durable and strong and has all the attributes I have and maybe even then some? Then how do I go about my job? And you could see there, the counter punch he laid on Ngannou where he, and we looked at this in the breakdown video for the Dubois fight, the way that he made sure there was always space between them. He used his athletic legs to create distance between him and his man. And he learned Ngannou's patterns and his habits during the fight. So he knew that Ngannou was jabbing, but he was throwing a jab that was a little bit lazy, a little bit slack. He would bring it back low. And so he knew if he kept him at range, if he made him reach in and fall slightly short, then there was a big opportunity there for him to land big, powerful punches because, the guard just wasn't there. But, Ngannou himself had a good check left hook. A good counter left hook where, he'd catch it on the gloves. You saw it with the knockdown of Fury. It's literally playing as I say this, where he took Fury's punch on the gloves, and then the second he caught that punch, he threw that left hook, and, that's counter punching in itself. And he just eliminated the opportunity for Ngannou to do that. You could see he was looking for that left hook during the AJ fight consistently, and AJ completely neutralized that. It almost took it a couple times, but not quite. And, he just did a really good job of using his legs in that fight to stay at range, creating counter punching opportunities. And boy, counter-punching is perfect for AJ because he doesn't need many punches to take someone's lights out, And so, that is the key with that style, hurtful. It's lower volume, it's more hurtful. And I definitely think for Dubois, if he's going to give AJ any problems, he's got to have a high volume output. He's got to make AJ uncomfortable. And he's going to have to do things that, counter-punchers don't like. And one of those things is keeping the distance nice and short, giving AJ less time to read his punches. But, he's got a lot of defensive frailties himself. If you guys want to see my further thoughts on this, go and check out the breakdown.
Now that you're 34, do you almost feel like you've started to almost get everything that you can collectively to become the best AJ?
A better, not the best.
Okay. The best is still to come?
Yeah. The best is always going to be yet to come. So me as a boxer, as I am giving a service to my fans, I'm giving a service to the sport, I should never sit back and be like, yeah, I'm the best I am.
So he says the best is always going to be yet to come. So this is the issue of the perfectionist. If you're never satisfied with your work, you're always pushing and striving for more. And I think that whilst it can create an internal dissatisfaction, for AJ, it's going to increase his performance level. So I do respect and appreciate that perspective. And, I hope that he can be satisfied with what he's doing. I understand that it's hard, especially when you're at that top level, to be really happy with what you're doing. But a lot of guys live in delusion in boxing. A lot of guys think they're better than they actually are. And that's kind of how they maybe have more success than they should. But AJ seems to be the opposite way, where he's not deluded about his levels. And actually, he's clearly self-critical and clearly is always looking to achieve more, which is a good thing in my opinion.
I always got to look at myself and sit down with my team. So how can we make this better? How can we make this better? So yeah, I try and improve in every aspect.
I guess the challenge now is twofold. I know you want to fight the best, and that's what you've always done in your career, but there's an opportunity to become champion again. So the challenge now is Daniel Dubois, and to become IBF heavyweight champion again. It's the first belt you won as well.
Yeah.
Do you need to be at your absolute best to overcome that challenge?
Yeah, probably better.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lot harder than when he beat Charles Martin. I'm pretty confident in saying that. That was an easy win for AJ. I remember I was on a mate's stag do actually when he won that fight. I was watching it on a phone, and I was so happy for him. It was great. It was a great man. I remember they had all the sort of money confetti, was it, like falling from the roof of the O2. It was really cool. But the start of the journey, and yeah, it is quite poetic that it would be the IBF belt that he could win again now to make himself 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. And yeah, I love that kind of narrative. So great to see.
And then my absolute best to beat Daniel. I respect him as a fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Good fighter, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Very, very talented. And I like I look at the pros in people, and I like the family. The synergy he has with his family.
Interesting to see AJ there acknowledging Dubois' ability, saying he's going to have to be at his best to beat him. And I like to hear that. I like to hear that someone is taking someone seriously. He's not underprepared. You can say what you want about how he treated him in that face-off, where he sort of definitely tried to belittle Dubois' credibility. The younger man next to him. He definitely gave off the vibe of, you're not on my level, you're not ready for this. But talking to Ade here one-on-one, he's very much saying, I do respect him. I respect his ability. He was very clear about saying how he respected his ability. Maybe he doesn't respect Dubois as a man per se, but as a boxer, he clearly has respect for what Dubois is able to do, and he should, because if AJ's not sharp and not on his A game at any moment, and because this is heavyweight boxing, guys, this is the caveat we always have to remember when we do any stylistic breakdown or we make any predictions. Heavyweight boxing is the home of upsets. It takes one punch to change everything, and that's the key. So he's got to be super sharp and super on his game.
Part of you, a small part, that's annoyed it isn't Wilder, because there was a lot of talk it could be Wilder if Wilder came through that fight against Zhang.
No, the fight could still happen.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah, well, for me, why not? I've always said it's not a big deal for me. It is what it is. I get paid to fight.
Yeah.
I used to fight for free.
Basically, if you pay me lots of money, I don't care how many losses Wilder has. If that fight's there for the money, then pay me and we'll fight. And honestly, that fight isn't going to happen because the money isn't there anymore. Wilder would have to have a series of wins on a comeback to get that AJ fight now, I feel. I don't think that fight's just dead in the water, isn't it? I mean, he had the loss to Parker, he had the loss to Zhang, both really top level guys, but and to be honest with you, they may have given Wilder trouble at any stage of his career, both of them, because I always felt Wilder had an extremely padded record. I think the Luis Ortiz wins were very credible and very good. Who had Ortiz fought? So it was one of them. He was fighting guys that just had no place being in the ring with him, and his lack of technical ability was compensated for by that extreme power. And he fought two guys in Parker and Zhang that, as I say, they may have beaten him at any point in his career, because Zhang's got that ridiculous power, and he's a very, very accomplished boxer, very technically good. sets his hand up very well. Low stamina, but Wilder's not someone who sets a high pace anyway, so that would never really been an issue in that fight. And then Parker, he's always had good defense. He's very slippery, very good boxer, and had great tactics that night. So it's hard to know how shot Wilder is, or whether he just fought guys that were always going to beat him anyway. I don't know, but anyway.
I went to the fight, I watched. I think Hrgovic, as you said, was a boogeyman. People respected him. And he put up a good fight, but it wasn't good enough. And there was moments in the fight where the tides were turning in Daniel's favour, the tides were turning in Hrgovic's favour, and I'm thinking, this is a good fight. I could see how Daniel was starting to edge, and that was down to conditioning, I think. So he was able to keep on breaking through brick walls after brick wall. And after a while, Hrgovic, he wasn't managing to run through brick wall after brick wall. When you run into it and it shatters a bit, then you got to run into it again.
Well, I completely agree with that assessment, to be honest with you. And I think, firstly, it's interesting that AJ is very, very aware of Dubois' conditioning and how good it was in that fight, because he ate a lot of punches, he set a really high pace, and he only looked like he was speeding up at the time of the stoppage. He didn't look too gassed himself. So yeah, I think that's a great point. It was a conditioning issue for me with Hrgovic. I think had Hrgovic been as fit as Dubois, there was only one winner from a technical standpoint. Dubois caused him a lot of problems with those cuts, with the head getting chucked in constantly. And, Hrgovic just couldn't really hurt him enough to deter him. And a lot of that is down to the fact Hrgovic's technique on his right hand is not brilliant. I'll be honest with you. When you watch him, the kinetic chain in his body is not really there. It's sort of missing the bottom. You sort of punch from your feet, but he very much just punches with his upper body. And his technique could be a lot better. Those right hands he was landing, I have no doubt in my mind that Anthony Joshua, if and when he lands one of those big right hands that Hrgovic was landing, will have significantly more effect on Daniel Dubois. But what I will say is this: Daniel Dubois has a good chin, because we've never seen him really concussively hurt from a single shot on his chin. When he's stopped, it's because he's sort of quit. There was the eye socket issue. There was the knockout against the stoppage against Usyk, where he seemed like he was very much still with it and just had kind of decided he didn't want it anymore. So it will be interesting to see just how good his chin is against AJ. I'm certain AJ will test his chin and we'll find out. But yes, it was conditioning that was the difference in that fight. I completely agree with that assessment.
I've always wondered, what's it like for you when you're on that row with other superstars, like Ronaldo's there and Mourinho's there? What's it like for you when you look at that row and you turn left and right and everyone's there?
So for me, I've never really been into the whole superstardom thing. I've always, I've never really been into sports. I never watched too many films growing up. But what I do look at now, I just look at like the character of people.
Okay.
And when I get to learn about the character of people, what I then do, I take it back to my household and amongst my community, and I'm like, I was with Ronaldo and he told me this, and if you operate in this way, that's how he's managed to do this. So rather than just being in awe, I'm like, now I'm sitting next to someone that everyone admires. Let me try to tap into his psyche and see how he's managed to get where he's got to. So I'm able to sit with people.
I fully believe that about AJ as well. When you think about the way some famous boxers carry on, they love being in the limelight and the spotlight. I believe that AJ likes it from a commercial standpoint. I think he's always done the best he can to earn as much money as possible for his career. I think he's even adapted his personality at times, to make himself as bankable as possible. But when you think about guys like David Haye, who are on I'm a Celebrity, who were on the talk shows at every opportunity, I feel like he liked the stardom a lot more than Anthony Joshua does. And, and this is something that's very true about AJ, and it's possibly his biggest superpower, is he's constantly trying to take in information from those around him. So much so that I think it was Clifton Mitchell, I want to say, the ex-boxer that AJ asked, who was working security on the way to the ring in the Usyk fight, how should I take on this guy? It's actually to an extreme level, but I do believe it's the reason that he's been able to get where he is as a latecomer to boxing. And, they say that when you're a child, your brain is like a sponge and you soak up information way more easily. Well, I feel like AJ's been able to kind of maintain that childlike mindset of absorbing information at a higher rate than most people. I even saw a clip of him with Roberto Duran recently, where he was asking Duran about his style, and he was just listening really closely and asking him questions. And, I think it's probably his biggest superpower, AJ, is his ability to learn from others.
I've spoken to Canelo, I've spoken to Golovkin, people that have achieved, and I've always asked them the same question: is what is the motivation? Because I always look at this sport, as you know, as a dangerous sport, and I've always said, get in, get rich, and get out. Right? You've got in. Hopefully, you've made some good.
That's Ade's favorite line. He loves that adage: get in, get rich, get out. And it's a good one, and young fighters should listen to that.
Money, some good investments. What is the want? Like, what is the reason you're still here and you're still grinding every single day to achieve these dreams? What's the want?
It's a good question. And it's forever changing, the reasons as to why, because certain things that I say I'm doing it for, they happen. Then it's like, what's next? One of the main reasons right now is my community. I want to fight for charities because I want to set up sustainable charities. Growing up, I remember when we used to have like our youth centres.
Yeah.
And like my dad's generation, I don't know how they done it, but they just used to have halls where they could host events and
weddings,
things for the
everything.
community. Yeah. But I think now there's so much development happening. So anyway, I believe in sustainability and creating an ecosystem. And I fight now, not just for myself, because I have everything I need. Not in the sense that I've got everything I need, but I'm quite settled with what I need.
You're content?
Yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm happy. I've got my tracksuits in abundance. I've got my trainers in abundance. I'm blessed.
You do need your tracksuits. Well, look, fair play to him, and if that is the case, fighting for something bigger than yourself, a cause bigger than yourself, can often be a very motivating factor. But, it does make you sort of think, is that, it's not the same rocket fuel that hunger is when you're trying to make it still, is it? So, I don't know. I think AJ's motivated to be an unbelievable boxer and to have an unbelievable legacy and lots of money in the bank. And clearly he has some things bigger than himself, outside of himself. For a lot of people, it's family. But I think that it's not comparable to when you're in that real struggle, that real grind earlier on. And that might be a factor in this fight. Daniel Dubois is certainly closer to that than AJ is. But then I don't know how much Daniel Dubois thinks about motivations and things like that. He seems like he's someone who wants to win. But because he requires those external factors to get himself into that mental headspace, i.e. from his father, from his trainer, you do question whether or not motivation might actually even be a question in this fight. But there's certain other fighters who I think AJ might come up against who have that extra edge on him. But the fact that he's boxing smarter now makes me think that the extra kind of, have you got those depths to go to when you really need it? He needs it less now because he doesn't fight that way anymore. So I don't know. I'm purely speculating here, guys. These are all just thoughts on the fly, but I don't think that's going to be a factor in this fight, his level of motivation, because he's always been fit. He's always been in shape. He's always worked hard. So yeah, and it's good to look for new motivations.
Do you dream of becoming undisputed?
No. It's in the sense that it'll be a blessing, but what I dream of more so is I'm quite like a short-term dreamer. So my dreams are always changing because I achieve it. So I'll be like, all right, how can I make this the best week ever? All right, once I get through this week, all right, boom, now I've got that together. Now I'm able to do this. So I'm not like looking at undisputed. I just analyze every small step first. So undisputed is a goal far in the distance. But believe you me, when I arrive at undisputed, I'm going to arrive like a king.
And that's what they say about successful people. They don't look, too far into the future. It's the first things that are in front of you that you deal with, and that's how you build all those little building blocks to ultimate success. That's what we're trying to do here on this channel, guys. Hit the like button, by the way, and subscribe if you're new. But that is true, and it's a winner's mindset, and I appreciate that perspective from Joshua for sure.
But like when I lost to Usyk the second time, that's what it hurt me so much, because I chased the undisputed, like that road to undisputed slogan. We chased that. I went round fighting individual champions and unifying the division, and it was just like it just got ripped away from me at the last minute. So now I've got to go through that process step by step again.
To be fair to him as well, like he just said, he had to go around collecting belts. It took a long time to get to that stage where he was fighting for undisputed. If you look at it as I've got to start from the beginning all over again, then that would be a sort of very like defeated feeling. Like you would feel like it was over before it even began. So to focus on that next fight, that next training camp, that next belt, it is the right way to go about it to get back there again. And it might happen sooner than he thinks, because the belts aren't with too many different fighters, which is not a frequent occurrence in boxing, and in particular in the heavyweight division. It's been very fractured for a long time. So yes, this is exciting. This is a good time for Anthony Joshua, and it's a big opportunity for him to get close to that undisputed opportunity again. But guys, what do you think? What did you make of this interview? Do you think that AJ is ready for this fight? Do you think that his mindset is in the right place? How did this AJ sit with you after seeing the face-off? Because for me, he seemed a lot calmer, a lot more composed. He didn't seem like he was in his feelings at all during this interview of Ade one-on-one. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight, guys. September 21st. I'll be watching on the 22nd because I'm in Australia right now. But I will be doing a live stream for this fight. I will be doing 6 things we learned after the fight. And I'm just looking forward to this card in general, guys. So as I say, hit the like button, get your thoughts in the comments below. And as I always say, on to the next one.